have in SAP HANA, apart from these three engines, there are other engines also there. Why I showed this? Because the modeling objects are these three objects: calculation views, analytic views, and attribute views. When we do a modeling, these are the three objects we would be creating in HANA. So, and then we discussed in the last class about the name server, index server, statistic server, and preprocessor server, and the task. So, in which what is the main important server at the heart of HANA database is index server. So, we discussed this. So, this is the architecture of index server. Again, within the HANA, we have a server. The index server itself has its own architecture. We discussed each component here. This is another picture of the architecture. Here, if you observe, I have a source system here with DB server, which is SAP applications. Here I have another source system, which could be any other system, any source. Now I would be connecting my HANA database with a Vivo, with a HANA Studio, or with any other tools. So it means to connect to the HANA database, you should have a respective drivers to be installed. Respective drivers to be installed in the system. So how these drivers we are going to get, that I will take it today. And another important point we discussed yesterday is Access Engine. So this Access Engine is a new engine which has been added from SP5 onwards. Service Pack 5 onwards, we added this Access Engine. This Access Engine is mainly for the web-based applications. Earlier, we have a web server which is maintained separately apart from HANA. Now, with this Access Engine, which is inbuilt from SP5 onwards, so that you can leverage the features of web services as well within HANA itself. So these are the things that we discussed in the last class. Yeah, you were asking some question. Before I start in the next topic, I can clear out your doubt and I start.
Yes, as you mentioned, we have different data provisioning like BODS and SLT.
Yes.
Like I want to know, like on a real-time job scenario, how much we'll be spending time on, like what is the ratio like on BODS and SLT?
Yeah, actually this week we would be discussing those. So 1 week, like from today onwards till Friday, we would be discussing on BODS and SLT. So it may extend on Monday as well. So because our motto here is it's mainly the HANA priming. So I would be touching upon these technologies SAP, SLT, and BODS. There would be many things in that, so it would be very difficult for me to cover in 45 hours all the things. So, but main concentration is HANA. Yes, I would be discussing BODS and SLT, how we would be using these tools to replicate the data into the HANA.
So, like as a HANA developer.
Yeah, as a HANA developer, you won't be actually replicating the data. There is a separate team. We call it as the data provisioning team. They are actually responsible for loading the data into the HANA. You as a developer would be developing the models based on the tables that are available in HANA. That is not your task, but sometimes, some scenarios, yes, you would be the developer and you are responsible to load the data.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Krishna.
Hi. Yeah.
Unlike traditional databases, does HANA requires backup and restores?
Yes, it requires. Yesterday we discussed that point as well.
Persistent layer, is that what it is, right? Like
yes.
The restores.
Exactly. Yesterday we discussed that point. Like persistent layer is the one because we stores the data in the RAM. It's a main memory. So the data resides in the RAM as soon as the power is accessed, right? So what happens when the power goes? If it is a production system entire data will be gone, right? So what happened to my data? What happened to the durability of the data from the ASIC properties? For that reason, we have a persistence layer. With the concept of this, what we have is HANA itself having the permanent storage, which is a disk-based memory, which actually keeps taking the backup of the data for every minute or millisecond, depending on the time duration you specify, so that this backup of the data will be keep taking into the permanent storage location. Who will be taking care of this? The administrator, not the developer.
Administrator.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And we would be starting off with the HANA data provisioning. Before this discussing the data provisioning, I would be discussing first of all what is HANA Studio, what is the purpose of this HANA Studio, then I will move on to the BODS part today. So let's discuss about what is HANA Studio. So as I discussed, HANA Studio is a front-end tool, or you can say it is a IDE. It is an Eclipse-based platform. So many of you maybe worked in Eclipse-based tools. So Eclipse-based is a Java-based. We all know Java is platform independent, which can run on any machines, right? So that's why this HANA Studio can be installed in Windows environment, which can be installed in Linux environment, which can be installed in even Macintosh also you can install. So because it is a Java based. So this is the look and feel of the system. This is the look and feel of the HANA Studio. So what is the main purpose of this HANA Studio? Why do we need this HANA Studio? Like I discussed here, the HANA database, which is installed on SUSE Linux Enterprise Server. So the database can be installed in an operating system called SUSE Linux. But a developer may not be having or may not be familiar with the Linux environment, right? So you can't ask each and every developer to log into the Linux and work on that. So maybe we are all familiar with the Windows environment. For that reason, what the SAP developed is a front-end tool with an Eclipse-based platform called HANA Studio, which can be installed in the HANA Windows environment, through which I can connect to the HANA database, which is installed in the SUSE Linux Enterprise Server, which may be located in US, which may be located in India or UK or anywhere. But being you install this HANA Studio in your laptop or your desktop or your local machine, you can connect to the HANA database. Yeah. So let's say this is local system, local server. Maybe HANA database installed somewhere. I don't know where it is installed, in which location it is installed. So I just installed this HANA Studio. So now I can connect my HANA data to I can connect to the HANA database using this tool. How can I connect that? Let's see. As soon as you log on to the system, make sure that you are into the modular perspective. What do you mean by perspective? So in HANA Studio, if you go to the Windows options, there is an option called Open Perspective. Open Perspective. Click on others. There are very limited number of perspectives are there. In real time, you will see so many different kinds of perspectives are there, because Eclipse platform is used for different purposes. So you can use for HANA, you can use for maybe XML related, you can use for web related, maybe which is not relevant for us. But with respect to HANA, there are few perspectives are there that you should know. So mainly as a developer, you would be working in modular perspective or HANA development perspective. So mainly we would be working as a developer, as a modular developer, you would be working in the HANA modular perspective. So from SP 6 onwards, XP5 or XP6 onwards, they introduced a new perspective called HANA Development Perspective, which can be used by the normal developers. There is another set of people called application developers. So, application developers means the people who actually develop the applications on top of HANA using UI5, using JavaScript, using Python script, or different kinds of technologies they can use. So that is nothing but server-side scripting they can use, be it web-based, be it any other technologies. So you don't need to worry about it. These are the application developers. So those application developers also can work with a HANA development perspective. So we would be discussing this HANA development perspective later on. So it's the same, but how you be using is a different one. So for the time being, we would be using HANA modular perspective, which is for the developers, modular developers. If you see, there is another perspective called HANA administration console. The name itself is saying that administration console. It is mainly for the administrators. The administrator is responsible for taking the backup of the data or monitoring the system performance, and these kind of tasks will be there for the administrator. He may not be developing any models there. So for him, there is a different perspective called HANA Administration Console. So as we are the developers, we can choose HANA modular perspective. We are already into the modular perspective. How can you find it out? At the right side, you will see the HANA modular perspective has been selected here. In other way around, you can select from here also. Instead of going to the window, open perspectives and others, similarly you can click on this symbol, the same window will be open. Make sure that you are in the modular perspective. So now if you see, there is an area called systems area. So what is this systems area? So this area is the place where you will be adding the systems. What systems you will be adding? The HANA systems. HANA database that you can add here. What do you mean by adding the system? Yes, as I told, the HANA database is installed in some other location, in some other environment. Now I want to create the models into that database. I want to work, I want to edit, I want to modify something in that database. Since I don't have access to the Linux environment, what I can do, I can add the database from here and then work on that. So how can I do that? First I need to add the system which is available there. So to add the system, I need some details. What are the details that I need? I need what is the IP address of the database, which we call it as host name. It could be a domain name also. The database host name of the database, the instance number of the database, the username of the database, and password to connect to the database. So these are the details that you need required to connect to the database. Okay, you already know these details, then how you would be connecting to the system? Yes, right click on this area, the systems area. You just need to right click on this area and add the system. So once you add the system, click on adding the system, you will see these details to be provided. So what is a host name? So for my system, this is the host name. For maybe you once you get the access, your host name could be different. So make sure that the host name is correct and the instance number also correct. So for my case, the instance number is 00, the instance number of the database. What do you mean by instance number? In a single database, there is a different instances would be created for the developers or for the testing purpose or some other purposes. So for my database, for my server, the instance number is 00. That's it. And here the locally language, since I'm an English user, I'm selecting the English. There is a purpose of selecting this. I will discuss this later on. Then click on next. Now you need to provide the username and password to connect to the system. Make sure that you have a user which is already created there. If you don't have a user, then it creates a problem. So I have already having the user, my username is Hannah, and then I'm providing the password. Now if you see, there is a green symbol over here. It means I successfully connected to the HANA database, which is located in some other location. From my local laptop, I connected to the HANA database, which is connected, which is installed in somewhere. It's from the Windows environment. So if you find yellow symbol or red symbol, there are some of the processes which are not started yet or which are failed. So immediately you can contact to the basis administrator saying that the HANA instance is showing as a red mark or yellow mark. So you can still find it out by double clicking on this. You can find out what are the processes which are actually stopped or what are the processes which are not running. If you see here, what are the processes services here? These are all we discussed. Index server, name server, preprocessor, access engine, statistics server, script server, compiler server. So these are daemon server. So if any one of these services are not started or which are failed, then this symbol will go red or yellow. So immediately you can contact your basis administrator saying that please restart this service. Okay, you don't need to worry about these services and all. Okay. Now, this is how we add the database. So if you observe, as soon as you add the database here, as soon as you add the system here, you will see there are mainly 4 folders you can find here. We can call it as nodes also. The catalog, let's discuss about first the catalog. What do you mean by catalog? First I will discuss catalog because content provisioning and security, which comes later on, because to discuss about the data provisioning you should understand what is catalog here. You should understand what is catalog. So remember, in your landscape, in your business landscape, in the real-time environment, here I added one system. You can add multiple systems also here. It's not limited to one system. Let's say the landscape of your client is a development system, a testing system, quality system, and production system. This is a 4 landscape system. This is a 4 landscape system. For example, it is something like this. This is my dev system. And then they have separate test system. A second, please. And they have quality system and they have production system. Here, if you observe, This is the four landscape system in which you have a HANA development system, HANA testing system, quality system, and production system. So first you develop the models in the development system and then move those models to the testing system and then to the quality system and then to the finally production system. So this is the four landscape system. So if you currently working in the HANA development system, you add the HANA instance here. If you are working in the testing system also, what you can do, you can add another system saying that this is your testing. Let's imagine this is my testing system. Just imagine this is my testing system, this is my development system. Similarly, you can add some other system also. Let's say quality system I'm adding. Maybe here I'm adding the same system, but in real time you have different systems. See here I added almost 3 systems here. So currently if you are working on HANA system, which system you need to select that system and go to the respective folders here. So here I added 3 landscapes here. One is, let's say one is a development, other one is quality, other one is a production or testing system. So in this way, in the real time, you would be adding multiple systems depending on the landscape that you have. So here I added, let's say I have added only one system. Currently I am working in the development system, in which first you will see a folder called catalog. So what is catalog? Let's discuss about that. So here, let me discuss the very initial details of the studio. Here, you would be first, as soon as you add the HANA instance, what you will find is catalog, content, security, and provisioning. So first, I'm starting off with HANA catalog. What is catalog? Catalog is just a folder which contains a collection of schemas. Collection of schemas. So if you see this catalog, if you drill down this, it contains so many schemas are there. The next question arises in your mind is, what is a schema? So catalog is a node or a folder which is a collection of schemas. So schema, again, nothing but what is a folder for holding the database objects. If I actually drill down any one of this schema, so you will see there are different folders within the schema you can observe. So the tables, triggers, views, procedures, indexes, functions, all this you won't be using. But mainly what you will be using is the tables. So since it is a database, so there should be some space, there should be some location to store the tables in the HANA database, right? So that is inside your schema. So let's say you have created one schema dedicatedly for one project, or you created one schema dedicatedly for one system. So depending on your requirement, you would be creating a schema first in the catalog. Depending on your requirement, you would be creating a schema in your catalog. Let's say I'm going to create one catalog, a schema in the catalog called schema, create schema, The schema name I'm creating here is batch May. So this is the May month. So I'm using the schema name as batch May and create it. So here there is a execute button over here. I'm just creating one schema. We will be discussing more details on this. For the time being, just imagine I have just created a schema for our regular purpose. So here if you see, I'm just refreshing the schema catalogs, refreshing the catalog, so that you can see a schema has been created with the name batch May. Now if you see under which, you will see multiple folders has been automatically created over here, but within these folders you have nothing. It's empty folders. These are empty folder which doesn't have anything. Unless you create something here, then it will create. I just created a schema which is capable of holding my related database objects. Related database objects could be your tables, or it could be your views, it could be your procedures, or anything. So majorly we would be creating either tables, replicating the tables, or creating the procedure. These are the two nodes that we would be using. Of course, since it is a database, we can create functions, indexes, synonyms, sequences, triggers, and views, which is not required actually in the HANA. That you will come to know later point of time. For the time being, as soon as you add the system in the HANA Studio, under the HANA instance, mainly you will see 4 nodes. The first node is a catalog that I am discussing currently. The catalog is a collection of schemas. Catalog is a collection of schemas. The schema itself is a collection of related database objects. Now if you ask where exactly the tables contain, in which folder the tables are contained, the data resides in which folder? It's a catalog. Catalog is a folder where we have a tables which is in the form of, which is resides inside the schemas. So catalog is a collection of schemas. So what is a schema again? A schema is a collection of related database objects. Schema is a collection of related database objects. So for example, in real time what happens is, so you are taking the data from one source. This is your ECC system, and you have some other non-SAP system, and you have HANA database which is installed as a standalone database. This is your HANA database. Okay, now you would be replicating the tables or data from these systems using either BODS or SLT. BODS or SLT. Now, when you are replicating the data from ECC, some tables are coming, and non-SAP system, let's say DB2 system or Oracle system, some tables are coming from here. All the data is loading to HANA. But how would you differentiate that these tables are coming from ECC system, these tables are coming from non-SAP system, or these tables are coming from some flat files? How would you differentiate? So for that reason only, we would be creating schemas, depends on our requirement. In this case, I'm creating 2 schemas. This is ECC schema. This schema contains all the tables which are coming from ECC system. I would be creating another schema called ECC underscore non-SAP. So here I would be creating another schema which contains all the tables which are coming from non-SAP system. So let's say you may have a possibility that there is a flat files system. You have a flat files. The data coming from the flat files. So in that case, you would be creating another schema in which all the flat files related tables would be flat file schema. This could be your flat file schema. All the tables which are related to the flat files would be available here. So this is why we create the schemas inside HANA. This is the first thing that you need to do before you start modeling. Whether schema is created or not, whether tables are available or not. So if tables are not available, you need to replicate the tables into this particular schema. Okay, the schema, where all these schemas are available in the catalog folder. I'm just discussing about only catalog, because to start off with the data provisioning, I want you to familiar with the catalog. What is a catalog? What a catalog contains? Schemas. Why would we create schemas? What it contains? So schema is a collection of related database objects. Why I'm saying the word related database objects? Because here ECC schema is related to the ECC system. All the related tables of ECC would be placed under this schema. All the tables of non-SAP system will be placed under non-SAP schema. Similarly, I have a flat files available. I want to load these flat files data into some tables. So those tables would be available under the flat file schema. So like this, we would be creating multiple schemas, different schemas inside our HANA database. So depending on the requirement. This is one kind of requirement. Some cases you can create schemas in different way also. Like there is only one source system is there. Let's say I don't have any non-SAP system. I have only one system. The data is coming from the ECC system. And then I would be creating different schemas in this case, like let's say CRM schema. All the tables related to the CRM would be placed here. Let's say I have SEM underscore schema. All the SEM related tables would be placed here. MM underscore schema. Usually we won't follow this approach, but still yes. So depending on our business requirement, depending on our requirement, we would be creating different schemas. In this case, what I'm doing, I'm creating a schema called CRM underscore schema. Here, this schema contains the tables related to the CRM module. This is the schema in which all the tables related to the SEM module would be placed under SEM schema. So this way also you can create. So majorly we would be creating the schema in this fashion. Like you have a different source systems, we would be creating the schemas for different source systems. All the tables which are related to the particular system placed under one particular schema. So what is the schema? A schema is a collection of related database objects like tables, procedures, views, etc. So majorly we would be dealing with the tables. Majorly we would be dealing with the tables and procedures also. So that is what a catalog. A catalog is a collection of schemas. So what schema that we created today? Today I just created one schema called batch main schema. Okay. Now let's start off with our next topic called data provisioning. Data provisioning. So what do you mean by data provisioning? What do you mean by data provisioning? It's actually a mechanism. It's actually a mechanism to translate or to transfer or to replicate the data from the source system to the HANA system, HANA database. Let's say I have the source system. The source system could be ECC, let's say SAP, or non-SAP system. Now I have HANA database which is installed as a standalone system. Now I want to replicate the tables which are available in my SAP system or non-SAP system into HANA database. How would I do that? Directly, I cannot directly replicate the tables into HANA. I need some mediator. I need some ETL tool to replicate these tables into HANA first. So there are two types of replication techniques are there mainly. One is a real-time replication, other one is a batch replication. Real-time replication is something which will directly replicate without any automation of any pushing of the data at a particular intervals. But batch load is something which would load the data at a particular point of time. Let's say every day at 5 CET I want to load the data, or every day at 8 CET or 8 IST, or every day 5 times I want to load the data. This is nothing but a batch load. Now when I say real-time load, it is not limited to a particular time. The moment a transaction happens in your source system, immediately it will be reflected or replicated to the HANA database without any batch load. So for that, what I need a tool in between these two. So these tools are nothing but ETL tools: extraction, transformation, and loading. Extraction, transformation, and loading. So we would be using the ETL tools to load the data from the source system to the target system. So what is my source system? The source system could be anything. What is my target? The target here in our scenario is HANA. Now what you are actually replicating? Tables. Now we would be seeing what are the different kinds of ETL tools or data provisioning techniques that I can use to load the data from the source system to the target system. So what are those? I can use BOTS, I can use SLT, I can use a flat file load using import option. So these are the main three techniques. Out of three, the first two are important. The first one is a batch load. BODS is a batch load or batch load. This one is a real-time replication. Okay. Now what we are discussing here is a data provisioning. What do you mean by data provisioning? Let me explain once again. It's a mechanism to replicate the data from the source system to the target system. So the source could be anything here. The target is HANA database. You are replicating the tables as well as data into the HANA. So that is called data provisioning. But the question here is, what are the tools that are available for me to replicate the table? Yeah, so I will completely discuss SLT. You don't need to worry about it. It's a 2 days class. So first on high level I am discussing here. So the BODS is the Business Objects Data Services. Business Objects Data Services is one ETL tool which is used to replicate the data from the source system. And SLT, which is SAP Landscape Transformation Server, we will be discussing more in details about it. SAP Landscape Transformation Replication Server, which is mainly used for the real-time replication. There is another way around. If you have a flat files without using any ETL tool, directly I can load the flat file. I can directly load the flat file into HANA using import option. So let's start off with the BODS. So I'm going to start with the BODS. So BODS stands for, so nowadays they are just calling as SAP DS. So why they were calling as BODS? Because the BODS was not actually developed by SAP. It was actually the product of business objects. There is an organization called Business Objects which was developed this tool, these data services as well as reporting tools. So SAP acquired Business Objects in around 2009 or 8 around. So now it became the part of SAP now. So SAP is acquiring a lot many companies. If you see Ariba is a cloud based. Now SAP HANA also, there is a cloud based HANA is also available because they acquired Ariba. Yeah, which is data services. Simply we can call it as data services. SAP DS is a ETL tool used to load the data from any source to HANA, from any source to HANA database. Into HANA database. It means when you are using SAP DS as your ETL tool, it is possible that you can load the data from any kind of source system, any kind of source, be it SAP, non-SAP, a flat file, CSV file, XML files, even Hadoop system, which is a big data system. So from there also you can actually connect. So that's why SAP DS is a very important tool for ETL. So which is very popular tool within SAP as well as outside SAP technology, which is capable of handling complex queries as well. So which is very popular to most of the customers using this SAP BODS tool, SAP DS tool. So if you want to load the data to the HANA database, prior to the data load, if you want to do complex calculations or transformations, then which is possible with SAP BODS or SAP DS. So this is the best advantage of SAP DS, which can be capable of performing a complex transformations or complex calculations before the data is loaded into the HANA database. So which is not possible with other ETL tools. So here mainly we have two data flows. One is to load the data into the target system. We have two types of data flows are there. One is a normal data flow, other one is a web data flow. How does these data flows looks like? We will see practically. Then you will understand that how to create these data flows within SAP BODS. Now, what are the different components of this SAP BODS are? We have to create a data store first. Let me show you how the functionality work. Then we will go on to the practical things. So let's say this is my source system. This is my target system. Let's say HANA. Now you are using an ETL tool called BODS to replicate the tables between. So this is my BODS. I'm using BODS to replicate the data from source system to the HANA system. Now observe carefully here. Here to replicate the data from the source to the HANA, before you replicate, there are few things that we need to create. That is called a data store for the source system as well as a data store for the target system. So what exactly the data store here is? There are two things mainly. How BODS knows what is your source system. Similarly, how BODS knows what is your target system. So you need to provide some details related to the source as well as target system, right? So those details would be provided under DS. We call it as data store. Similarly, when you are replicating the data, the metadata information would be stored under your data store. So it means to connect to the HANA, to connect to your source system, as well as to connect to your target system, what I need a data store to be created, which is actually having the information about my source system as well as the target system. So I need to create a data store for the source system. I need to create a data store for the target system. So data store is having the information about your systems, be it a source system or a target system. When you are replicating the tables, for example, here I have some table. Let's say table name is Mara. I want to replicate Mara table from the source system into the target system. So what happens is, as soon as you connect your BODS to the source system, this Mara metadata information first would be replicated to the BODS inside your DS, and then this would be replicated to the HANA database. That's the reason why we need to create a data store first before we going to create a job inside your BODS environment. So this is a picture. It will clearly says that you need to create a data store for the source system as well as a data store for the target system. Now if you see what are the steps that you need to create here is, we need to create a job. First we need to create a job to replicate the tables from source to HANA. So what I am doing here is create a job to replicate the tables from the source to HANA. We need to create a job inside our BODS. Inside our BODS, we need to create a job. What is the job? What it will do the job? That all we will discuss. So here, what exactly we need to do here is the first step is create data store for source system. Replicate metadata from the source system. Then create data store for the target system. So replication of metadata is an optional one. Target system. These are all we will see practically how we would be doing. Remember, this is optional one. This is optional one. Why optional? I will tell you. So these are the main steps that we need to follow to create a job in PODS. So we would be practically seeing how to create a data store and how we would be replicating a table from the source system into the target system in the next class. Okay, so these are the steps that we would be following. How to create a data store, how to create a project, how to create a batch job, then workflow, data flow, and all these things we would be seeing. So as soon as you execute the job, automatically a table will be created under a schema, whatever the schema that we will specify in the job. So any queries for today? Please let me know. We started off with a BODS, so we will be discussing for a couple of days.
Hi, Krishna.
Yeah, hi.
In the yesterday's class, you said we have two types of ETLs, right, for HANA. Well, one is BODS and one is SLT.
Yeah.
So this batch load comes under, is a type of BODS? I mean, is it a data service for BODS?
See, actually BODS is a batch load, fine. So it is not limited only to BODS. Batch load can be also possible with SLT. That's why I just parked it. SLT we'll be discussing later. SLT is capable of, loading the data real time, that I said. But it is capable of loading the data at batch loads also. Both ways it is possible, but there are limitations are there with SLT. So what are those limitations which cannot be possible with SLT, which is possible with the BODS? We would be discussed once you are familiar with the BODS and SLT.
Okay. But in the industry, these are the major ETLs for HANA, like BODS and SLT?
Yes, majorly 99% where they would be using either BODS or SRT.
Yes.
There is another technique called DXE is there. I would discuss that also. DXE, direct extractor connection. This is mainly which is actually inbuilt ETL tool using embedded BW system. I will discuss that later.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, any queries? Okay, if no queries, we will meet tomorrow same time. So tomorrow we will be starting off with the practical things with respect to the BODS. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.